Today's episode is a special edition of the Lindsey Elmore Show. It has never been more important than now to hear from our Black and brown friends about the experience of going through the world. I think too often we don't want to have these uncomfortable discussions. We don't want to press ourselves out of our comfort zones to identify our own racial biases. However, if we don't have these conversations, it will never push forward the dialogue that needs to happen so that we can truly get to a point where all lives matter. I said it on Facebook, all lives cannot matter until Black lives matter. And the disparities that Black people face in America have never been more on display than they are right now. A lot of people said, hey, Linz, you're showing your privilege by the way that you have behaved during the spring and summer of 2020. And I was quick to point out to those people, listen, Black and brown people are not dying in excess now. Black and brown people have unfortunately always died in excess because of disparities in access to care, as well as the institutionalization of racism. Here's the thing. Most of us do not consider ourselves racist. We don't actively hate people who are a different skin tone than ourselves. But when I, as a white person, fail to acknowledge that the system has been skewed against people with Black and brown skin, I fail to acknowledge that there is a system-wide problem that needs to be fixed so that we actually create parity in our access to healthcare, in our access to education, in our access to jobs, in our access to opportunities, and our vision of the future can change. I heard something profound the other day. Did you know that Jane Fonda has a Black daughter? And she adopted this daughter after she went through a brutal rape in high school that put her in a position where she could no longer process going to school. She could no longer achieve the grades. But thankfully, Jane knew this young girl before she experienced such trauma. She knew how much value her life had, and she adopted her. And Michelle, her daughter, Mary is her daughter's name, Mary. And so her daughter, Mary, said something profound on this podcast. And she said, Jane was the first person who got me to think about the future. And I thought, wow, what a place to have been brought up in, where you can think about the week, you can think about the day, but you don't perceive the future. And I realized that there was never a day in my life that I didn't think I was going to graduate high school. There was never a day in my life that I didn't think I was going to go to college. There were very few days in my life where I didn't think I would get a doctorate degree. I always wanted a doctorate, and I always knew that I had that future ahead of me. When systems are built to oppress certain people, it steals the vision of the future. So in today's episode, I invited some of my friends of color to come on to the show and read to you the brilliant words of Maya Angelou, who blessed this world with so much kindness, so much compassion, so much understanding, and always embraced what a joy and blessing it was to be a Black woman. So here we listen to the words of Maya in her poem, Still I Rise.
You may write me down in history
with your bitter, twisted lies.
You may trod me in the very dirt,
but still, like dust, I rise.
Does my sassiness upset you?
Why are you beset with gloom?
'Cause I walk like I've got oil wells pumping in my living room, just like moons and like suns,
with the certainty of tides.
just like hope springing high.
Still,
I'll rise.
Did you want to see me broken?
bowed head and lowered eyes,
shoulders falling down like teardrops,
weakened by my soulful cries.
Does my haughtiness
offend you?
Don't you take it awful hard.
'Cause I laugh like I've got gold mines digging in my own backyard.
You may shoot me with your words,
you may cut me with your lies.
you may kill me with your hatefulness,
But still,
Like air,
I'll rise.
Does my sexiness upset you?
Does it come as a surprise?
That I dance like I have diamonds at the meeting of my thighs.
Out of the huts of history's shame,
I rise.
up from a past that's rooted in pain.
I rise.
I'm a Black ocean,
Leaping and wide, welling and swelling.
I bear in the tide.
leaving behind nights of terror and fear.
I rise
Into a daybreak that's wondrously clear.
I rise, bringing the gifts that my ancestors gave.
I am the dream.
And the hope.
Of the slave.
I rise.
I rise.
I rise.
The Lindsey Elmore Show is written and produced by me, Lindsey Elmore. Show segments are produced by Sue Procco and Kelsey Lorman. Production design, sound design, and editing is by Jive Media. If you have a question about this or any other episode of the podcast, send us an email to hello@lindseyelmoreshow.com. And hey, since you're still here, take a moment to subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. And while you're at it, go over and follow us on Instagram @Lindsey Elmore Show. This helps us bring the pod to more people.